Welcome to the Traveling Flaneur podcast, where I'll talk about the economy, politics, history, and culture of the places I've visited. I'll also give you travel tips, recommend places to visit, things to do, and the best food. The life of a flaneur is that of an observer, a person who wanders aimlessly with eyes always open to any opportunity. It is a person who is in no hurry and prefers the journey over the destination. I believe that in this hurried world we live in, we need more flaneurs, and I hope you enjoy the perspective from a traveling flaneur and maybe become one in your next trip.
Hi, and welcome to my third and last Toronto episode in which I am going to recommend you what I think is the most valuable thing about this city and is the opportunity to try food from all over the world at a very good price. Toronto is a paradise for foodies. And what's more, when I was looking for numbers, I found that there are more than 8,000 restaurants in the city, which means that you could eat in a different restaurant every night for 21 years and still you wouldn't have eaten in the same place twice. This is an impressive number. And aside from that, restaurants are going to be also a very important economic part of the city. They're contributing 6.5% of the city's GDP. So as you can see, it's a place where restaurants are quite important and people like taking restaurants seriously. And well, this is going to come together with the incredible diversity of the city, creating spectacular culinary opportunities. It is estimated that in Toronto, there are around 200 ethnic groups in more than 180 languages and dialects. And that's why you can find several neighborhoods in different areas like the ones I recommended in my last episode. So Chinatown, Koreatown, Greektown, Little Italy, Little India, Little Poland, and more. And the possibility of walking from Chinatown to an Italian neighborhood or going from Portuguese to a Korean atmosphere in only a few kilometers is what's going to make this city very unique. So for me, if there is one thing that you can't miss in Toronto, it's not even visiting one of the 40 places that I recommended or attractions or museums or park, but you should enjoy this multiculturalism and try the food from different parts of the world. In today's episode, I'm going to give you a list that I've been compiling for over a year in Toronto of the best restaurants that I've personally tried in the city. And although I'm probably missing many more to add, I think this is a good place to start. And I'll start with places that are relatively cliche in popular regions, but at the end of the episode, I'll give you recommendations from more niche countries that I had never tried before. And over here, I'm just going to do small disclosure. I know you probably already tried Thai food or Italian food in the country where you are, but in Toronto, you're going to find that the flavors are going to be way, way more authentic. And when I tried Thai food here, for example, I found that it was nothing like the Thai food that I was eating in Colombia. So I would encourage you to also try some of the cliche ones because you're going to find some surprises in the flavors and in the authenticity of these places. So let's get started. And my first recommendation is going to be actually around Canadian restaurants because typical Canadian food is going to be hard to find in Toronto because especially Toronto doesn't have any specific type of local food. One place that you could try is going to be Smoke's Poutinerie, which is going to be one of the few places that serves the famous Quebecois dish of poutine, which consists of French fries with cheese and a special mystery sauce. But I have to admit that the poutine in Montreal is much, much better than this one. If you're only visiting Toronto, then I would recommend that you try the poutine here. If you're going to Montreal or Quebec, then you shouldn't try poutine in Toronto. You should try it in that region because it's from that region. But for sure, it's a famous Canadian dish and you should try it here. And the second place that I recommend would be Beaver Tails, because this is going to be a place that sells the star dessert of Canada, beaver tail. And of course, these are not real beaver tails, just in case you were wondering. This is going to be a little dough that tastes like a churro, in case you've tried one, but the shape is like a beaver tail. And so you can decide if you're going to eat it plain or if you're adding something like honey, Nutella, lemon. So This is going to be one of my favorite desserts. In this place, beaver tails, of course, that's the original, and I think is one that you should visit because it's something that's very Canadian and very delicious. Now, if you want to try Thai food, which is one of my favorite types of food, there are going to be 1,000 delicious options here. One of the best restaurants to try northern Thai food is going to be called Pai. And they have different locations, but the one I recommend is the one that's downtown near the King Station because this place it's also very beautiful. The best restaurant to try Thai food from the south is going to be one that's called Ko Lipe, and this is probably my favorite of all because they have more exotic dishes, but I have to admit both Pai and Ko Lipe are delicious, and those are two of my favorite restaurants in all of Toronto. The only bad thing about them is that they're not delicious for me, they are delicious for the entire population of Toronto, so they are very popular. And if you arrive without a reservation, you might have to wait over an hour for a table, so I would recommend that you make a reservation before you go, or that you arrive early in order to wait in line and make sure that you can enter and enjoy the food. And if you're a fan of Thai food like me, I'm going to give you even more recommendations. So there's one called Khao San Road, which is going to serve a delicious khao soy. There is another place that's called Sukhothai, and this one has many levels of spiciness. So over here you can taste you're resistant to spiciness. When I went, I only tried level 1 and 2, and those were already spicy for me. Then for people that are very good at spicy, they would usually recommend level 7, but they can serve up to level 12 of spiciness. And they would charge you a little bit more because these are going to be very rare spices that are going to make it so spicy. And so I wouldn't recommend you to try the super high levels unless you're a person that tolerates spiciness very good, because they're usually recommending you which levels to try. But it's a good place in case you want to try very spicy food. And there are just other normal places that serve very good Thai food, and they serve mostly popular dishes of all of Thailand. They're going to be Samtun Jinda, Eat BKK, and Chiang Mai. Now, if we go to my next recommendation, it's going to be for Indian food, which is also one of my favorites. And according to my Indian friends, the food in Toronto is going to be quite similar to what you can find in India. My favorite restaurant is going to be one called Dilse, and I always order the chef special over there, and it's amazing. It's one of the best Indian things that I've ever tried, which I highly recommend. But also they have a huge variety of dishes. They have veg, non-veg, so you can try a lot of things. And I think it would be a good place to just get a good overview of all of the Indian food. If you want to specifically try South Indian food, then I would recommend one place that's called Annalakshmi. And over here, you're going to find that the southern food of India is going to be quite different from the northern food, because in the south, they're going to use a little bit more coconut, they have different spices, and they're going to have a special dish that's called dosa. And this is going to be like a giant crepe that has different filling options. And this place, Annalakshmi, is going to serve the best dosas in Toronto, so I highly recommend visiting that place as well. If you want more options, again, similar to the Thai ones that I recommended more, here I have more Indian ones. There's one place that serves a little bit of everything. It's called Indian Desire, and it has a lot of variety and is very good. There's also another one that's a bit more luxurious ones, and it's called Kasana Toronto, and this one's an Indian restaurant created by chef Sanjeev Kapoor, so it might be for a more special occasion. Or if on the other hand you want to try a little bit more of street food, let's say, you can try Indian street food, which by its name you can already guess they're going to serve more street. Now, I will pass on to my Italian recommendations, and there are quite a few places that you can try. Two of my favorites are going to be Gusto 101 or Piano Piano. And if you go to Piano Piano, they're going to serve a lunch combo, so I would recommend going there for lunch because you can have a starter and main course and a dessert for a lower price. And this is going to give you also a lot of food, so you're going to be pretty full after that. Then there are several people who say the best pizza in Toronto is from a place called Badiali, But for me, that one is tied with Italy, which is a chain that's also in the US, but it is a very cool place to visit because besides from being a restaurant, Italy, it's also going to be like a supermarket that has very high quality products, and you can buy fresh produce over there, or you can get ice cream, which is also delicious, but it's going to be a little bit more expensive. And well, since we're speaking of ice cream, my favorite places are going to be Nani's Gelato, which I love because it's very good quality and it's also very cheap. But the best of all, it's going to be from a place that's called Mitsuka. And this one is one of the most traditional places, and their gelato has won international awards. Their pistachio one is delicious, and everything in that store is actually going to be delicious. I've tried carrot cake, I've also tried more different types of gelato, and I definitely recommend it because it's probably the best place for gelato in all of Toronto. My next big group of recommendations is going to be around Chinese food. If you want to try dumplings, I would recommend Juicy Dumplings. They are going to be delicious, cheap, very fast, authentic, and they're open up till late. Here you can try many options of dumplings, and all of them are going to be delicious. If you want to try dim sum, in front of Juicy Dumplings, it's going to be a place that's called Wok Theory. If you want to try baos instead, I recommend one place that's called Sangji Fried Bao. If you want to try Chinese ramen, I would recommend Ramen Station because it's delicious. They serve very good service, and it's also going to be very cheap. And if you want Southwest Chinese food, I would recommend you to go to Szechuan Noodle Ball. This place is going to serve delicious food from the Szechuan region. And this one's going to be very popular for its noodle bowls and for being a little bit spicy because all of their dishes are going to contain a particular ingredient that's going to be the Szechuan pepper. If you want to try the hot pot, which is one of the most popular Chinese dishes, then I would recommend that you go to Haidi Lao. They have the best hot pot in the entire city. And this is a Chinese restaurant chain. And in case you've never tried hot pot, basically you order a broth. Most of them are going to be spicy, that's why they're called hot pot. And then they're bringing to you this broth that's boiling. And then you can select some of the things that you want to add. So it's going to be meats, vegetables, mushrooms, etc. And you're going to put all of these things in the boiling broth. And then they will cook for a specific amount of time. So it can be 30 seconds, it can be 1 minute, 5 minutes. And then it's almost going to be a little bit like a fondue where you're putting things inside this bowl. But it's not going to have cheese, it's going to be with a spicy broth. If you are not liking spicy food, you can also ask for a tomato broth. So this one's not going to be spicy. But here, also one interesting thing is that you're going to find many different types of meat. And so what do I mean by this? You're going to find all of the typical Western meats that you can get, so like pork, chicken, beef. But you're also going to find some typical Chinese meats. So this is going to be like lamb brain, tongue, heart, or other things that for me are going to be a little bit weird. So this is a perfect place to try all of this. And lastly, if you want just a place where you can get a lot of Chinese food variety, you can go to either Moon Palace or Sunny's. They're both going to be recommended, and you can try a lot of Chinese dishes. And another group of recommendations is going to be around Korean food. My favorite restaurant by far for the quality, the service, and the variety of dishes is going to be Korean Village. This is the oldest restaurant in Koreatown, and the owner is always serving, making sure everything's in order, that you're liking the food that you have. And over here, you're going to find many options to try Korean dishes. So you're going to be able to taste glass noodles, stone bowls, and of course, the Korean barbecue. But if you only want a place that serves specifically Korean barbecue, then I would recommend other places. I would say that you should go to Mapo Korean Barbecue or to Daldong Nai. They're both going to be great, delicious, and the atmosphere of these places is great. If you want to try Korean desserts, I would highly recommend one that's called Hodo Kawaha. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but you can see it written on the screen. And this is going to be a bakery that has many delicious typical desserts. Or if you're in the mood for Korean food but more around seafood dishes, then you could go to a place that's called Jin Dao Lai. And okay, my last big group of recommendations before moving on to specific countries, it's going to be for Japan. So if you want to try a Japanese grill, I would recommend Jubi. This one's going to be an all-you-can-eat. It has very good prices and very high-quality Japanese grill. Then, if you want to try Japanese desserts, and specifically Japanese pancakes, I would recommend Fuwa Fuwa. Or if you want to try sushi, I would recommend Jae-san Sushi Bar. And if you want to try Japanese ramen, I would recommend that you go to Musoshin. Or if you want more varied Japanese dishes, then I would say that you go to Sakushi and Carlton, also highly recommend. Now, let's go to specific recommendations, and I'll start with ramen because I just mentioned it. I don't know if these places are Chinese or Japanese or any other place that serves ramen, but they're just very good. You can try Sensote Ramen, Ramen Raijin, or Ramen Ishin, which I'm going to like in that order. So my favorite one is Sensote, but they're all going to be great and highly recommended. If you want to try Vietnamese food, I would recommend that you go to Pho Tien Tan, and here you can try the famous pho, which I tried and I didn't like very much, but many people love it, so it might be a good opportunity to try it. Then if you want to try Greek food, which is one of my favorite in Toronto, I would recommend Messes as my first choice, but if you want more options, you can also go to Mamakas or Athens. They're also going to be very delicious. If you want Turkish food, I would recommend Chef Mustafa or Mama Fatma. They're going to, again, both be very delicious and very good value. If you want Afghan food, which I had never tried before, I would recommend Naan Kebab. Delicious. If you want Iranian food or Persian, as we would say, I would recommend two restaurants. There's one called Pomegranate, and there's another one called Darvish. And over here, you could order different things such as pomegranate walnut stew, seitin parpadeh, or gourmet sabzi. All of these are going to be local things, and probably in all of these places that I'm recommending, you can ask the waiters. They're all going to be helping you choose something that's local, but again, highly recommended for trying Persian food. If you want Egyptian food, then over here, the best option, especially for Egyptian breakfast, is going to be Maha. This place is spectacular, and their dishes are delicious, but the only thing is that this place is almost usually open for breakfast, brunch, and lunch. So you should go early, don't try going during the evening, but this has some very amazing food. And then if you also want more food from the Middle Eastern countries, I would recommend Saad, Lebanon Express, or Paramount. They're all going to be delicious and cheap. And especially Saad has some very amazing hummus and baklava, so I would highly recommend. If you want tacos, the best ones are going to be from Gus Tacos. And there are going to be also some other good tacos that are from a place called Molcactes. But when I went to this place, the service wasn't very good. It took a long time in order to get tacos, which was weird. So that's why I recommend Gus a lot more. But in case you want another option, there would be that one. Then there is another place that has very good tacos, but they're not authentic Mexican tacos. But they're one of my favorites in Toronto. And it's called The Ham with double A. And this is going to be a place that will mostly and primarily serve sushi and tacos. They're going to be fusion, both sushi and tacos, but they're both delicious, and it's probably my favorite taco place in all of Toronto. If you want Peruvian food, I would recommend the Inca or Pisac. If you want Hong Kong food, I would recommend that you try wonton hot noodles. And if you want Taiwanese food, you can try the boba tea from Taiwan. The most authentic place is going to be cocoa tea, or there's another one called kung fu tea, which is also good, but not as authentic as cocoa tea. And you can also find a Taiwanese restaurant that's going to be called Mabu Generation. And over here, they have delicious Taiwanese desserts. So highly recommended if you want to try desserts. If you want to try Pakistani food, I would recommend Karahi Boys. This is going to be one of my favorite restaurants in Toronto. The food here is incredible, the service too, and they have a gigantic naan, which is very fun, so make sure to order the family format, and even if you go alone, it's so good that you won't want to eat it all, but order the family version so you can see how it's presented. If you want Filipino food, I would recommend Casa Manila or BB's. And if you're looking for something a little bit more elegant, you could go to Mineral, which is a place that has a tasting menu that is going to be quite expensive but delicious. And if you go on Tuesdays, it's going to be a little bit cheaper. If you want to try Georgian food, you could go to Tiflisi. It's delicious. And this has been one of the restaurants that has surprised me the most in Toronto, and I loved the food. It was very good and different from everything I had tried, so make sure to visit Tiflisi. It's so good. And there are also Armenian restaurants that are going to be very good again. And there's one in particular that I tried. It's called Taline. And this one, again, highly recommended. And well, I will finish with two independent ones. If you want to try vegan food and be amazed, try Planta. This, again, is a chain that's also in the US, but it's one of my biggest surprises in all of Toronto because I ordered spicy tuna, I ordered carbonara pasta, and they're trying to replicate all of these flavors, but with 100% vegan ingredients. So everything's going to be vegetable origin and plant-based. And it was so good. So I would recommend going to Planta. Their vegan sushi is amazing, and they have an all-you-can-eat sushi on Mondays after 5:30 p.m. That is also going to be very cheap. So if you want to eat a lot and then feel good about it because it's all vegetables and plant-based, then you should go to Planta. And then the other recommendation that I had is if you want to try the best burgers in Toronto, they're going to be in a place called Cabanos. And this one's going to serve hamburgers that have fried jalapenos, and these are going to be amazing. And well, I think this is the most complete list of recommendations that you will find on the internet. And the best thing is that I have tried each one of these restaurants, so I can recommend them from experience. But if there is any place that I didn't include in my list and that you like, please write it in the comments so I and other travelers can go visit it. If you like this episode, please share it with someone else who loves to travel and give me a review because this helps me tremendously and motivates me to give you more travel tips. Subscribe to stay tuned for more episodes and tell me in the comments if there's anything that surprised you or if there's any advice that you found particularly useful. And I hope to see you next week in order to keep exploring some of the strongest falls in the world. Enjoy your trip!